Welcome back, everybody. This is Paranormal Watchtower, episode 18, part 2 from the conversation we had with Ken Torres, or known as Dr. Ken, as most of us know him as. So, here we are. Ray, how you doing today?
Man, I'm good. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
It's good to hear. Let's get it started.
Put us through a little bit like after the exorcism. How much energy does that take out of you? Like, do you feel refreshed after you're done, or do you have to take a couple weeks off? Or
I feel like $1,000,000, but no, it's tiring. It is time consuming. Not, you can't do an exorcism in an hour. Sometimes the exorcism ritual takes 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions. Sometimes it could be a month, it can be a day, it can be a week, it can be a year. It depends on how strong that energy is, but it also depends on how strong that individual is.
And is this energy attacking you the whole time as the exorcist?
Yeah, mentally attacking you, spiritually attacking you, saying negative things, saying mean things, having things happen to you at your home, like things randomly catching on fire, things randomly falling over, randomly having all 3 of your dogs getting a seizure at the same time when they don't suffer from seizures. Yeah. Or all of a sudden getting a really bad stomach infection where you have to get a new stomach. That happened to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Jesus.
Literally.
You sure you want in, Brandon?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No.
I didn't say that. I said I did at one time. I did. But hey, and to be honest, when at the time during my life when I was thinking about doing that, I probably wasn't in the right mindset for it.
Well, according to our faith, the Christian faith, you do have authority to help people and pray for people and cast out these things. It just requires that you understand that the authority is not coming from you; it's coming from the divine, right?
Right.
And oftentimes we see this world of fake book and social media, where it's like, oh, I'm the 25th million exorcist with the 100 power times 10 denominator, and I've casted out over 60 million demons. Okay, yeah, buddy, try. Where's your theological training? Or my favorite one is, well, I'm a demonologist. Well, what type of demonology did you study? Islamic, Judaic, Christian, Japanese, Shinto, Astrozorian? What type of demonology did you study, and what seminary school did you go to? And so I only know I know a handful of good demonologists like Rich Valdez, Mike Salerno, Ralph Sarchi, Chris McKinnell, what's his name? Dave Giuliano, Jimmy Paratino. So,
So you're saying the dictionary of demons, just having that on your shelf doesn't make you a demonologist?
Well, I mean, I mean, you can understand. And so I have that here too. And I go through it for reference, but at the same time, as human beings, we have this need to want to understand and control the narrative, right? So what's not to say that these names are written down are the actual real names? Because according to our faith, we know that these things can be mischievous, they can be liars. So you have a name written down for some energy, some demon, so to speak, and let's call it Tommy. What if his name is not really Tommy? What if it's like Michael Jackson? I don't know. So we have to be really careful. We have to be really careful. That's where the discernment process comes in. So the whole book of Angels and Demons, the encyclopedia, it's a good entertainment book. It paints a picture of this whole magical, whimsical world of I'm going to be fighting demons. And with that too comes along the idea that just because you are a demonologist, right, doesn't mean that you're an exorcist. That's 2 completely different trainings.
Right.
Have you ever ran into somebody that had no idea what they're doing but was trying to do an exorcism?
Yes, and I'm
sure that doesn't end very well.
And that's why, I get called in a lot of times. And look, no, not talking bad about anybody. That person may have had a bad day. That person may have been out of focus. That person may not have been in a state of grace. But nonetheless, it's dangerous because you put yourself in jeopardy and you risk the family. Now, everything we want to do is always to make sure that the family is always safe, and yourself and your team. And if you're not in that proper state of mind, you just can't be saying, and I cast you out in the name of Jesus. And also, let's get this notion out there right away. Let's get this misconceived notion all the way. People are always wanting to blame something, right? People always need something to blame, right? And this is where sometimes I tell people, You can't blame the devil, and you can't blame God. They're not to blame. You made some mistakes. You made some choices. You dabbled into things that you shouldn't have been doing. It has nothing to do with the devil. It has nothing to do with God. Personal decisions. Because if that's the case, then we should blame God and the devil for everything. We have free will, right? We have logic. We have reasoning. So oftentimes, I think people are always looking for some sort of excuse, or they're looking for someone to blame. No, it's not always the devil, and it's not always God. So let's get that misconceived notion out the way.
Hmm.
Sometimes our personal decisions that we make affect our environment, affect, what the after.
Yeah, what we do with our lives can make us a victim.
It's true. It's true. And it breaks my heart too, because there are a lot of people out there who I see that they bash Christianity, and they go and they follow other faiths, and it breaks my heart that they've had such a bad experience, that they've been hurt, that they don't understand the fullness and the love that our faith is supposed to have. And oftentimes, they go around blaming God for all of the bad things that happen. Well, God, if you exist, why do you allow this things to happen? Well, it's free will and humanity. We make mistakes, and humanity is flawed, and it's not always the devil's fault, and it's not always God's fault. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
just our fault. And that is the hard pill to swallow, when we have to sit back and say, it's my fault. I'm in this situation because of me, not because of the devil, or not because of God. My
Hmm.
mistakes.
Hmm.
What do you think? Like, what is your opinion? What's the motivation for a demon to possess a person? Like, what are they trying to get?
So let's see. So according to our faith, right? So these demons, their job is to try to attack you. They are trying to hurt you, but they only have a certain amount of authority that God allows them to. They can only do certain things that God allows them to do. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it's to embarrass them, and it's also to strengthen a person's faith, right? And people are like, Padre, well, why is God so cruel? Why does he allow that to happen? Because sometimes people need to be tested. And I don't have the answers for that. I don't know what God thinks, but it happens for that reason. And it's very unfair that people say, well, if God loves you so much, why does he allow me to get possessed? Well, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe you did something. And in the off chance that this is really a divine intervention and God allowed this to happen, then you have to look inside of you and say, am I being fruitful? Am I being tested? How am I being tested? Why am I being tested? And if you really have faith, then you know that you can overcome this.
I have a question for you. Now,
Yeah.
do you think that being attacked to the point of possible even possession of a demonic entity, do you think that could be punishment for something that you've done?
I wouldn't necessarily say punishment. I would say more repercussion. If you are engaged in certain occult practices and you're invoking these things and you're allowing them to enter you, then yeah, that's going to be a byproduct of what you did. I don't necessarily think that God punishes people that way. Not the God that I know. I just know that he allows things to happen, and it's not a punishment. I don't think it's a punishment. I think if anything, it's a test of faith.
A test.
But
Okay.
yeah, a test of faith. But there are circumstances when people do certain things, and they call and they invoke. And so that is the aftermath. And so that's a repercussion of something that you've done.
Hmm.
Now, you've probably heard that during the time of COVID, supernatural reports went up.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an opinion on that? Like, do you think it's because people were at home more? Do you think it was
Oh,
a mental issue that the whole world was dealing with, obviously?
I agree. Yeah. No, yeah. So during the pandemic, the foundation was getting cases left and right. People were having things levitate, things were exploding, that sort of stuff. And so we're like, okay, well, we're not going to say that it's demonic, because demonic activity is highly rare. It's 0.1%, 1%, if even that. But we do know that as human beings, right, we have these abilities. We have a part of our brain that is untapped. And I think given the right circumstances, the right frequency, maybe the right energy, that we can also display psychic activity, also otherwise manifesting poltergeist activity. So it has happened. We have had a lot of cases where people are feeling certain things and things are happening, but a lot of it has been attuned because they're stressed, they're feeling anxious, and They're like, well, I'm displaying poltergeist activity. When you take them away from the environment, nothing is happening. But when they're in the environment, all of a sudden, bing, 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 everything is going off. We're like, okay, we may have something. So that's when you do the process of elimination. Yeah.
Do you think like it was a collective, I don't know what to say, connection from all the people stuck at home? Or do you think individually?
I think we're all connected in some sort of way. I think all human beings were on some sort of pattern, we're on some sort of like brainwave. We're all connected, and I think together the world struggled. The world struggled. They lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of people, friends and family. So a lot of people were suffering, and I do think that all that energy combined around the world, yeah, could have caused supernatural activity.
That's interesting.
Now, is there a set? I know there's the rites of exorcism, but are there other prayers used for an exorcism, or is there like a set things that you need to say to try in attempts to banish this demon?
Okay, so yeah, I use the Roman ritual. The Roman ritual is in detail, clear and concise. It's been around for over 100 years. But it also depends if you're doing a major ritual, right? So the rite of exorcism, reading the Roman ritual, that essentially is a major rite. So like a minor rite can be a deliverance book. You can use the Book of Common Prayers. You can read a psalm. You can pray for the individual. But that itself is different because, that is not a full exorcism. If you're doing a deliverance prayer, if you're praying for somebody, to get rid of certain attachments or whatever it is that they're feeling, you can do a regular prayer. You can read a psalm. But the actual exorcism part, the part where you have to get authority from the bishop, requires that you use the Roman ritual or the Book of Common Prayer, or if you're Orthodox, their prayer as well.
So now this is something I didn't know. I never heard of a major rite of exorcism. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in the prayers that you use, if it's a minor or a major.
Yes,
now,
correct.
So, but when it gets time to actually banish it, you need to do the major rite, which is the Roman Catholic way.
Yeah, the Roman ritual. We use the Roman ritual or the Latin rite, which has been proven to be effective.
And is that in Latin?
It's in English and in Latin. I prefer English because I don't speak that well of Latin. I speak Spanish. But either way, it doesn't matter whether you read it Latin or English. It's the intention, it's the authority that's coming from behind it. And that's the most important thing. People will say, well, if you read it in Latin, you're going to get more, you're going to get more resistance. That's not necessarily true. Because energies, these demonic entities, if you believe in them, they understand because they are part of a spiritual hierarchy. So they understand authority. And so if you go into that ritual and you're reading any type of book, whether it be Latin or in English, they're going to automatically know whether or not you have spiritual authority. So it doesn't matter how you read it. The most important thing is having spiritual authority and being in that state of grace. You can read it in English or in Latin, either way. I prefer English. I've done Spanish. That's a little more difficult because they're tongue twisters.
Yeah. Is it how important is the faith of everyone in the room when you're doing an exorcism?
I think that faith is really important. I think it's very pivotal in helping, deliver this individual from what they're suffering. If you go into a place and you're like, well, I'm just here because I'm here, and you start reading a book and you don't believe in it, and you're just wasting my time. And not only that, though, you're putting other people in danger, and you're also putting yourself in danger, because if you really believe in this sort of thing and you have no faith and you're not protecting yourself, you could potentially be a victim.
So here's an off the wall question that just popped into my head, but what if you do an exorcism on an atheist who doesn't believe in demonic activity, but he's quite clearly under possession? Like, how would you treat that? Like, the whole family doesn't believe, they're all atheists, or heaven forbid, a Satanist or a devil worshiper or whatever that becomes demonically possessed. How would you treat that, do you think?
I would still treat it with pastoral counseling and chaplaincy first, because honestly, if you don't believe, if you reach out to us, right, and you believe that this is happening and that this really is truly demonic, then there's kind of got to be a part of you that thinks, well, this sort of stuff is real. Maybe I should have some sort of faith. I won't do the ritual. I won't do an exorcism ritual on a family that doesn't believe in, that doesn't have faith, because it's not conducive to the environment. And more than likely, what I will do is I will do my very best to guide them, to point them in the right direction, and hopefully, maybe they'll get some sort of faith. And once they start building their faith life back up, we can talk. But being there without having any faith puts the whole family in jeopardy. If I were to go in there and let's say this person, first of all, I would need your consent. And I'm not willing to perform an exorcism on anybody who doesn't believe that they're possessed. Like if you truly are displaying these signs of demonic possession or oppression and you don't believe and you're telling me that you have no faith, then I can't really do it because it's not going to work because you don't believe in what I'm saying. You don't.
So even if your faith is 100% that's what's happening, even though your faith is strong, if they don't have any faith, it won't help.
Yeah, it won't help. It won't help.
Wow.
Their faith won't help. That's just the way it is. You have to believe in the ritual. You have to have faith. You have to believe in something. If you're reaching out to me for help and I'm telling you certain things and you're just denying it and you're just talking over me and you're giving me excuses and then you're saying that I'm wrong, it's like, oh, you know what? Hey, I appreciate the time. Thank you. I understand we have a difference in opinion, but I may not be the person to help you out. It's always got to be respectful, though. But
very interesting.
Faith is highly important in what you're doing. You have to believe. Just like when you read a Bible or you say a protection, you surround yourself with the white light or whatever it is. It's just mere words. And if you don't believe in what you're saying, then, well, it's not going to work. Just like this whole TikTok trend. What's that whole I claim no negativity on this.
Oh,
blah, blah,
blah. Yes. We talked about that briefly earlier.
Brandon started that.
When people come in, and even in my paranormal lives, though, they used to come in all the time and say, I claim no negative energy from this live, and occasionally even on my videos. But to me, that's like standing in a room full of evil and standing up and saying, hey, I'm right here. If you want to come and get me, I'm standing right here.
Yeah. It's kind of like calling for attention.
Yes.
And at the same time, too, it's like you have to, we're not that person. So we don't know what their mindset is. Maybe they really do mean it. And I think that's also important. But it's not my job to judge them. But when I see things like that, I'm like, okay, well, hey, I'm staying out of this. I'm not going to give an opinion because sometimes they're just mere words. I don't necessarily believe that if you just type that in the chat that everything, well, just because I have faith, well, I have faith. Just because I have faith and I believe in God or I believe in something doesn't mean bad things are going to happen to me. You have to be prepared. That's what faith is. Faith allows you and prepares you to accept the good and the bad, right? And I'm no exemption. I've had situations where, yes, I'm a person of faith. I can be a person of the cloth, but I have still had bad things happen to me. Well, I claim no negativity. How come it happened to me? Well, because that's just the way life is. Things happen, whether you like it or not. Some things are just beyond our control.
Now, if you had somebody that was interested in kind of getting into the exorcism side, but they weren't ready to apply yet, do you have any certain books that you really like or that you trust that you would send them or have them go get, or do you just?
Yes, it's the Bible.
Well, obviously
no. So I would have them read Slaying Dragons, which is a really good book. It talks about the different case files of different exorcists. I would also have them read The Introduction to Science of Mental Health, right? It talks about the spiritual faculties, the physical faculties. It prepares you on how to deal with individuals psychologically and emotionally. More importantly, just what else? The Demonic Foes by Dr. Gallagher. Dr. Richard Gallagher is an MD for the Vatican, and he is the only MD that's been appointed as an expert when it comes to demonic possession for the Vatican, and he sat in on thousands of them. So I would recommend some of those books right there. And also, prayer and discernment, and ask you, why would you want to do something so crazy?
Right.
And I try to stay away from seeing that I do that sort of stuff.
You know damn well I'm buying those books. You know
Yeah.
damn well I'm
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to.
So those are good books.
I just
You know,
wrote
Even
all
if I
down.
just have them in my library of
yeah.
stuff, I'm gonna
Also,
buy them.
another one is Dominion by Father Chad Rippinger. So Father Chad Rippinger is he's got some good books as well. So
Hmm. See, now you just cost me more money. See what you did there? You added that extra one. So, hey, this is going really great. I'm so happy that you came on, Father Ken. This has been very educational,
Yeah.
and I'm learning stuff too. So, and
Yeah.
to be honest, I kind of consider myself a know-it-all at times, but I love it when I get put in my place and people can teach me something.
Well,
Hey,
you know what?
hey,
And yeah, that's never my intent to try to put somebody in their place. I'm just speaking from my experience and my history. So if you felt a certain way, my apologies. That was not my intent.
no. It's good to learn. It's always
Yeah.
good to learn, and that's why I like to learn
Yeah.
about, and that's why I know about a little bit
Yeah.
about Satanism, because
Yeah.
I want to learn before I judge.
Yeah, that's the
You
same
know,
way. I actually have Anton LaVey's book here, and I've read through it. So I try to educate myself on different belief systems. I really,
Mhm.
truly, genuinely have a love and passion for human beings, right? And so I want to
Mhm.
learn about people. I want to learn about different cultures. I want to learn about different beliefs. I'm not going to sit here and judge. And like I
How
said,
long? Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I just want to get to know people.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been?
Five
Are
years.
5 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I've been an investigator for a little over 15 years, but clergy going on 5 years.
Now, um, if we can go back into the whole exorcist thing. Oh, never mind. I already asked what can be said. We talked about the rights and everything. Um, do you do an evaluation on the whole family when you're about to do an exorcism? Is it uh, you know, are they all do you think it's possible? I guess what I'm trying to say is, can the family manifest something other than demonic to make it look like they're possessed?
Yeah,
One of their family members is
yeah,
possessed.
absolutely. Which is why we talk to each family member individually. We ask for medical records. We ask for psychological records. We ask them to go get checked. We do a release of information. We do a property and history research. We get into the medications. We get into the trauma. We get into how the family dynamics are, the divorce, that sort of stuff. And so it encompasses a lot. And then once we paint that picture, once we get a little picture painted, we also look at the natural anomalies around the house. Sometimes we'll pay for home inspections. We'll have inspectors go out and check for certain things, for high EMF readings, for gas leaks, for mold, black mold, rats in the attic,
Mm-hmm.
infestation of roaches, that sort of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at the naturals first, and that's the
Sure.
time. That's the part that takes time within that 6 to 7 month process, because you can't always get everything done, in a week or two. And once we do that, it kind of gives us an idea. And then once we see that, okay, we're not experiencing and we're not seeing anything supernatural, what we are seeing here are certain behaviors. Now, it is true that mental illness can manifest as demonic possession, vice versa, and they can coexist, right? But I'm not a licensed psychologist to speak on that. That's why we have
Okay.
other people that do the work for us that are licensed psychologists. Then they give me their evaluation and assessment. And one of them happens to be a really good friend who I can't mention, who's also an investigator. And
Okay.
so we go to them. And so based on that, we get an average baseline reading of the house. We have an assessment team come out. We do a couple of more interviews. And when we see that there's nothing manifesting either by religious provocation or using certain keywords or rituals or using certain religious objects, then we know that we may just have psychosomatics, which
Mm-hmm.
is, as you know, a very powerful thing. The psychosomatics can make you think that you're suffering from something paranormal or supernatural. It'll make you edgy. It'll make you nauseous. It'll make you feel a certain type of way. So psychosomatics is one of those words that I think is not often understood in the paranormal field, But the actual mindset itself, feeding into the notion that there is something negative, that there's something magical or demonic happening, that itself, fear feeds fear. And so if we can help minimize that fear and get you to understand that, hey, we're not seeing anything here, we're not catching anything here, we're not saying that we don't believe you. We believe you when you say you are experiencing these things. These are key words. A good investigator will never say, well, I believe you have a demonic infestation, or I believe you have a ghost. You never say that.
Right.
What you say, and this is mental health coach, from a licensed mental health coach, right? I believe
they think it.
Yes, I believe it. And so that's how you keep yourself out of trouble as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we go through that process, then yeah, we'll have a definitive answer on whether or not. And there are certain times when obviously, yeah, you can't catch everything. You know, there's no there are no experts in this field. All right.
Let me cut you off real quick. Just I think now would be a good time in the podcast to tell everybody where they can find you if they have questions, if they have comments, if they want to look more into you, maybe get to know you. This is Dr. Kenneth Torres. You can find him on his website at fatherkendoctor.com. And on Facebook at kenneth.torres /520.
Yep.
And on TikTok as Dr.Kenneth_Torres_Bishop on TikTok.
Yes, sir.
And that's where you can find Ken. Come talk to him. Obviously, good friend of ours. I really enjoy talking to Ken. He's very intelligent. We've had many good conversations, deep conversations that you just can't have with everybody.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let me ask you this.
Go for
it. Aliens, what's your thoughts?
Oh, don't get me started on that, man. So I believe in extraterrestrial life. I believe that aliens exist. The two cases that I've had, though, were really negative and violent in nature, where two of my clients did have sexual assault noted on their body from unknown things. So I believe when the fall of the angelic realm happened, that maybe these beings not only scattered to Earth, but around the galaxy. And so I don't think highly positive of illegal.
So you're saying...
I don't think highly of aliens. I think they might be darker in nature and more sinister.
So you think aliens could possibly be the fallen?
Yeah, I think there's a high possibility, a high probability. But how do you annotate that? How do you come to that consensus? I can only talk about what I've experienced with my clients. It's been nothing but negative interactions with my clients who have been alleged alien abductions.
I'm just glad you agree with me and not Brandon on that one.
No. It's always got to be a contest with Ray.
Sorry, that's how it is.
No, but I believe they exist, man. And you know what? And the only experience that I've had with them, not personally, but through clients, has been negative. I don't know enough about them to make a full determination, but I do know in my heart, and I know that they're real and that they're out there, and we're not the only ones here.
So Ray likes to send me videos telling me how aliens react negatively to scripture.
I've never encountered that. Have you read the works of Zachariah Sitchin, To Ride a Pale Horse of the Anunnaki?
Yeah, I have not. He wrote a lot of... You've watched Ancient Aliens, that's all based off of his writings.
Yeah, so Zachariah Sitchin, the To Ride a Pale Horse and the Anunnaki, paints a picture on his interpretation of what these things are.
So back to the exorcisms and stuff, because I don't like where that alien thing is going. We started talking briefly on the phone earlier today about some cases that you were just eager to tell me about. I don't know if there was one that maybe you had a favorite or maybe was the most dangerous as far as demonic cases. And I'm not saying ones that are absolutely demonic, but ones that maybe you just want to talk about.
Well, there's one I want to talk about in particular, and it's not going to be demonic in the sense that you think. After reflecting after our conversation, I think it's imperative that I get this message out there. There was a case in which a family called us in, and the family said, "Hey, I think that, you know, our son is suffering from something. He's saying that he sees things." Well, the family right off the bat said that he was diagnosed as double schizophrenic. Okay, not a problem. No, that could be a red flag right there.
Yeah.
So we spoke to the family, and the family was like, "Yeah, well, we had this paranormal team come out here. They charged us $5,000 to do an investigation, and the psychic indeed did confirm that my son had 72 legions of demons inside of him." So we're like, "Holy crap!"
How
That's the
much?
hardest part. 72 legions.
No, how much money?
Yeah,
$5,000?
$5,000.
Yes, to come out for 2 hours
I've been doing
and
this
paid for
wrong.
their hotel and for their air flight and everything. Right?
I've been doing it free for
Right.
20 years.
Same
You
here.
didn't tell me we could make money doing this, Brandon.
Jesus.
Yeah, I've been doing it for
I
free.
didn't know. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
So case in point, the family reaches out to us, and that's always the hardest part, right? Another team comes in. You always want to give them the professional courtesy. Hey, this family called us in. I'd like to know more about the information. And the team was like, "Well, I can't talk to you because it's our case." I go, "Well, not anymore. The family came to us." And so we talked to the family, we talked to the son, we can see that there's different things, he's disassociated, he's looking around, he's spacing out, that sort of stuff. Well, okay, cool. Give us a few days, because we had to get more investigators to get involved in the case. We were getting our licensed psychologists to come do an analysis. A week goes by, a week and a half, we hear nothing from the family. We're like, oh, maybe they're not happy with how we're doing things. We finally get a hold of the family, and I ask, "Hey, how's your son doing?" The family's crying, right? The family's crying, they're sad, they're distraught. And I go, "What happened?" They go, "Our son committed suicide and he left a death note. I'm taking my life because there are 72 legions of demons inside of me."
Oh, come on.
Wow.
So that right there has been the most impactful case. And case in point is, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. This is why I take this job seriously. This is why this is not a game for me. I think this is why this is a vocation, a calling. And
this is
that
why
hurts me.
this
Yeah,
is
that
why
hurts me.
this is why people that don't know what the hell they're doing do not need to do private investigations. I've been talking about this. I've been screaming about this for years, and people they're so willy-nilly to just go in and tell people that they've got demons and shit. And this is the exact reason why you can't do that. You need to know what you're doing before you go and deal with somebody's life and livelihood and family. And
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
saying
can't
once
just
it
have-
taps, cut myself off.
Look, I get it. There is a want to understand and to explore the supernatural. I personally think that there's a difference between urban exploration and residential explorations. Yeah, we have people that are good at both, but a residential is different within itself because you have to understand social dynamics, economical dynamics. You have to understand the family. You have to have some sort of wisdom and maturity to be able to talk to the family. And so that right there is one of the most powerful cases that still has an impact on me.
I'm so
All the
glad to
other
hear
ca-
you say that.
Yeah, all of the other cases, they're still important. But this one right here bothers me. It still bothers me. And it eats me inside every day. And it's been over 3 years now.
Right, it's just unethical to go into somebody's house and do that. Like that's why I've never done a residential place. I don't. Well, I wouldn't know what I was doing, and I would not want to make it worse.
Yeah.
I would like to know how this so-called paranormal team came up with the theory that not where there 70 there were 72 legions. Right.
Well,
not just 72, but 72 legions.
Well, here's the best part. Their psychic medium took a course a week before to get certified as a psychic.
Oh,
you can do
Jesus. That? So they bought a deck of tarot cards and decided to find demons.
Yep.
Come on. That just pisses me off.
Yeah, man.
Bro, next time you see me, I'm going to have my psychic certificate back here.
Yeah.
That's really upsetting. I'm sure people listening are upset by that too.
I'm blown away by the $5,000.
It's not about religion. It's not about faith. It's not about what you worship, what you practice. If you like pineapples on your pizza, it's about being genuine and authentic.
Damn.
And helping the people that you are there to help. And if you're being dishonest and unethical, I have a problem with that.
Everybody should have
Jesus.
a problem with that.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're in the wrong business.
Yes, sir.
Damn. Wow. That was a good story. Damn. Well, not a good story, but a interesting
Yeah.
story to say the least.
Yeah.
But there's a lesson to be learned there, and I hope everybody listening pays attention to that story and they didn't, sign out before you got a chance to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know everybody sees a priest and they're like, oh no, he's going to give his religious psychobabble bullcrap, blah, blah. He's going to condemn. I'm really not that guy,
Yeah.
and I get judged a
Yeah.
lot too. Like, oh, priest, you're a Christian. You know what? That's cool. You can say whatever you want about me, brother. But, I know where I stand. I know my capabilities. I'm proud to do what I do. It's a vocation. It's a very heavy burden to carry. But, I'm blessed every day to be able to meet people like the both of you and mix and mingle with other people from around the world. I have the opportunity to sit in with other teams from around the world and give them advice. Sometimes they'll have me on their lives on TikTok, even in Greece. And I don't even speak Greek.
Let me try to redeem myself
No
from
chance.
that whole alien thing. Ray.
No chance.
Yeah.
Ray.
What?
So Ray asked you what you thought on the demon thing. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you what you think on the ghost thing.
Oh, I
do you
was gonna
think
ask that too?
do you think the ghosts that we talk to or what we assume are ghosts are actually ghosts, or do you think they're all just demons pretending to be people? And
No.
and if so, because that's what I say to people when they say that they all think it's demons, and I say, well, then if that's the case, then every psychic medium in the world is completely full of shit.
All right, so two things on that. No, not every ghost is a freaking demon, okay? Ghosts, I think, are just departed spirits who are trapped into this plane, and it's our job to try to help them cross over. For me, it's kind of like a purgatory type of state, limbo sort of state, but I don't know. They're not demons. They're human beings. They're human souls who are trapped and they need help, right? So not every place you go to is going to be filled with demons. That's not true. And also, another negative connotation. Psychic abilities are not demonic. People who have these gifts, I believe, are divine gifts from the Creator. What makes it evil is how you use your gifts. So no, not all ghosts are demons, and not every psychic is dabbling with the devil or the occult. Come on. God and the devil live free in your head, people. Stop it.
Thank you for that.
You're
1 to
welcome.
1, Ray. 1 to 1.
I never said everything's demons.
Yeah. But it's true, though. There have been situations and circumstances where these entities, these demonic entities, can become familiar, right? Like a child,
Mhm.
to gain your trust. It's happened.
Right.
But that's far and few.
Well, let me ask you this, because I was listening to Bishop James Long the other day,
He's a good friend of mine.
and and I like the guy, and I was good friends with his past sister. Unfortunately, God rest her soul.
God rest his soul.
But he said that he doesn't believe that the little girl ghosts that we see, the ghosts of children, he mentioned that he thinks it's a high possibility that those are demons because his God would not allow children to be lost.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's his opinion, and he has a lot more experience than I do. But from my experience, I can't confirm that. I don't think so. But like I have mentioned, yes, these little spirits, these children, they are known to be demons because you build a relationship with them. They're innocent, and you want to talk to them. I do believe that there's a high probability that these children spirits could be something more than just a ghost. But once again, I don't have the experience to give you an answer on that.
Okay.
Very cool.
What else you got, Ray?
Apparently, the ability to shut my camera off. I think I'm about out of questions. Like, I think I'd like to give him a chance. If there's any misconceptions out there that you hear about exorcisms or exorcists that you want to kind of dispel, or anything like that, some closing thoughts from you.
Yeah, so exorcism ministry, the exorcism itself, now it's a vocation, right? And you have to have a calling for it. but at the same time, you're not going to have all the supernatural things that Hollywood portrays it to be. 9 times out of 10, too, as well, you're going to encounter a person who thinks that they're possessed and they're not. It might be some sort of underlying trauma. And so, yeah, those are some of the misconceptions. Demons don't live in abandoned buildings. They have better things to do, right? Unless,
Yes.
unless there is, like I said, some sort of ritual that was done to attach that being or that demon to that property. But yeah, that's about it.
Do you think a curse can bring in a demon to a property permanently?
Yeah. Well, all curses can be broken. It just might be hard. It just trying to find the origin of the curse, who did the curse, how the curse was conducted, where the curse was conducted. Are there any objects related to the cursed property? So those are all things you have to take into consideration as well. But a curse can be broken.
All right, my final question.
Yeah.
Do you think dolls can be possessed?
No, I think they can have some sort of attachment. Possession mostly is for human beings, right? A living being, a living entity, a living demon is going to want to manifest a human inhabitant. What I think often happens is you have residual negative energy, right? Let's just call it nasty vibes, right? Case in point, like the Annabelle doll. I think that there was something that was attached to it, not necessarily in it. And even being and having an attachment can cause bad things to happen, and we know that. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
What do you think some would get attached, like using Annabelle? Why would something be attached to that doll? Is it just simply to try to get to a person? You know, is there something more to it?
It's all case. I think it's all about the original intention behind it. When we're looking for things like that, when we look at cursed objects or even antiques, right? You know, if someone left an intention on that object, it's your job to like say, hey, you know what, whatever intention was on here, I break it, I bind it, no more, negative intentions. And I think that's what happens. It's the intention behind the object and who put that intention on that object is the most important thing.
All right, so you think somebody does it to the object. You don't think Demon Joe's walking down the street and like, oh, that's a cool doll. I'm going to jump in there and
No,
Chucky it.
not in my experience. I don't think so.
But the whole, like, okay, what if there is a curse that puts this spirit or entity into the doll to trap it?
Well, that could be a different thing. That itself is within a different ritual. So that's very specific to the object and to the item in which that can happen. But normally it's just outer. It's an attachment. It's an energy attached to that object, not inside that object. Because according to our belief, when we are dealing with demonic possession, demons, their job is to cause temptation, deception, oppression. They want to cause division and discord. They want to hinder your spiritual growth. So how do you do that? You do that with a live person, not with an object.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So before we end, do you have anything that you would like to talk to us about? Do you have any questions as far as, well, anything for us? Otherwise, it has been a great pleasure having you on our podcast here on the Watchtower.
Yeah, no. I think the only question that I have for you is, what are your thoughts on the Conjuring House?
Well, I've never been to the Conjuring House. I do look forward to going there at some point.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I do know Brian and Rochelle who went there and they did a special on that Conjuring House. Now, they seem to think it was super active, and I really like, some of the things that they came up with. But other people say that it's a hoax or that there's nothing going on there and it's all hyped up. But I really, before I form an opinion, I'd really like to go there myself before I say what I think about it.
Yeah. Let's make that happen, man.
Yeah. Well, you want to go there with me?
Yeah. Let's make it happen. Yeah.
Excellent.
Because I have some opinions too, as well. Originally what I thought is, obviously what happened there with the Warrens was something tremendous and maybe it got cleansed. And I think that the repetition of going back and invoking and doing all of these communications may have attracted energy back to the place.
Well, Ray, if that's it, if that's all you got, I want to say one more thank you Dr. Ken Torres here. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming in and talking to us about all sorts of things. I know exorcisms can be a uncomfortable conversation, but I appreciate you coming in, and I think our viewers and listeners will appreciate this one. And I'd really hope you'd consider coming back and talking to us about some of the other aspects of what you do at some point.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back
great.
and talk about the ministry work, the work that I do with veterans, the nonprofits, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course the supernatural.
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
Awesome.
So
it has been fun.
It has been great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, man, thanks for having me. It's quite an honor to be invited by real Brandon Ghost Hunter.
Some people call me Real Ghost Hunter 1, but you can call me whatever you want. That's fine.
Ghost Daddy, all kinds of
Ghost
stuff.
Daddy.
You know, yeah. Well, that was.
Well, you're real Brandon Ghost Hunter 1 in my book because you're real, you're Brandon, and you're number 1.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much.
Not a problem, sir.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 18 for Paranormal Watchtower. Thanks to our guest, Ken Torres. And we will see you next week at 8 o'clock on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you then. See ya.
I had a great time. Hope to see you all next week. Not sure what we're doing yet, but tune in and find out, right? Later, Brandon.